Okay, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me out there? If you can't hear, give us a signal, because sometimes we can't tell whether the way it's set up, we can hear some of us better than others and can't always tell what you're hearing out there. So give us a signal if you're having trouble hearing at any point during the meeting. So welcome to the Board of Education meeting. The board has already met in executive session, and we did the salute to the flag in there. So at this point, we're going to do a roll call. Mr. Cruz.
Mr. Salmon.
Here.
Ms. Gray.
Here.
Ms. White.
Here.
Ms. Schaefer.
Here.
Ms. Hira.
Here.
Ms. Light.
Here.
Ms. McCune.
Here. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to read the statement of public notice, so bear with me. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Education of Bernards Township. Notice of the time and place of this meeting was provided, and copies of that resolution were forwarded to the official newspapers as designated by the Board of Education and to the Township Clerk, and a copy of the notice was posted on the bulletin board of the Board of Education offices in accordance with PL 1975, Chapter 231A. Due to the pandemic, the Board of Education expects that in-person attendees to this meeting will have completed and passed a self-assessment of their personal health, wear a face covering as pursuant to the Executive Order 251, sit in a socially distanced manner from members of different households, and maintain social distancing if waiting in line to make public comment. For those members of the public who are unable to attend our meeting in person, there are 2 live stream links of the meeting posted through the district website, BernardsBOE.com. The 2 live stream links are both airing our meeting. Each simply backs up the other to be prepared if there's technical difficulty. We very much welcome input from the public. There are 2 times during the regular meetings that the public is invited to speak. One time is early in the meeting before the board votes, when you may speak about any item that is listed on tonight's agenda. Towards the end of the meeting, there's another public forum to address any matter of public concern related to the schools. When you approach the microphone, please state your name and address. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes duration. No participant may speak more than once during a given public comment session. In order to run efficient meetings and to allow maximum opportunity for members of the public to speak, the board reserves the right to set a different time limit for individual comments or set an overall time limit for public comment portions of the agenda. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address or question board members individually. As a courtesy to those individuals unable to attend our meetings in person, public comment may be made remotely through Zoom. Interested individuals should go to the district webpage, BernardsBOE.com, and select Board of Education, followed by public comment in the drop-down menu to review specific instructions, or there's a link in this actual agenda to get there. Public comments made in person will be processed first, then comments via Zoom. No public comments will be accepted before 7 p.m. or after the last item board forum of the agenda begins. Please understand that public comment portions of our agenda are not structured as question and answer sessions, but that rather they are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. The board may or may not respond to public comments. Any board responses to public comments will generally be addressed during board forum or during committee reports. However, all comments are considered and will be investigated and addressed as appropriate. Please be courteous and mindful of the rights of others when speaking. Comments may not be abusive, obscene, threatening, or irrelevant. Please understand that students and employees have specific legal and privacy protections. The board is not permitted to respond in public to comments about students and employees. Please also understand that the board will not be responsible for the content of comments made by members of the public. Members of the public are cautioned that they are speaking at their own risk, and any personally directed statements they may make may be subject them to legal liabilities of the affected individual. If it is necessary for the board to go into an executive session at the end of the meeting, we will provide an estimated length of time for the session and whether any action is anticipated to be taken upon returning to public session, which of course we are going to leave tonight, which we'll explain in a little while. Okay, we're up to our student representative, Mr. Lee.
Thank you so much, and good evening, everyone. With the end of the first semester just a few days away, Ridge is eagerly anticipating the start that comes with every new marking period. Although this is traditionally a rather busy time of year for many students, the activities and achievements that Ridge is known for have not stopped. Ridge's Fine Arts program continues to thrive at the highest level with the Ridge Dance Showcase titled Dancing Through the Halls, performed on January 21st. Such a massive showcase is already difficult enough to organize and perform during a normal year, and COVID-19 complications have made all of these performances ever more difficult. A huge congratulations to all of the staff, students, and parents involved in this truly massive undertaking. The Ridge Forensics team's winter season is well underway, with members attending multiple local and national tournaments, sometimes in the same weekend. Despite the team often competing in 2 or 3 locations simultaneously, Ridge still placed many champions and finalists in a wide range of events. Ridge congratulates the team, the coaches, and the parents for their continued hard work. The Ridge swim team has also continued their string of successes, competing in several large meets. At the Skyland Conference Championship, they not only broke several team records, but also placed 2nd overall in the tournament for the first time. Ridge congratulates all involved for this incredible achievement. And believe it or not, Ridge is already looking ahead to the spring sports season. Yeah, I know, there's still snow on the ground. Who thought of it? But baseball, softball, golf, volleyball, and many other sports are already holding informational meetings and will be holding them in the coming days and weeks. Ridge wishes all of our spring sports athletes the best of luck and will be cheering them on as they begin to train and compete. Finally, the Ridge student government is looking forward to our meeting with the Board of Education on February 7th. We hope that this will further increase the dialogue between the board and the Ridge students, as well as shed light on the experiences of a wider range of members of the community who attend Ridge High School. On behalf of the student government, I thank all of you for offering up your time and everything for trying to listen to us. And we hope that through this, we will learn more about you, and you will hopefully learn more about what we experience day to day here in this very building. And with that, thank you, and I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Gordon. We look forward to meeting with the student government and hearing a lot about what your thoughts are. Does anyone have any questions for Gordon? I guess we can save our questions for that meeting. Thank you. And as usual, you're welcome to stay or go, because I know you have some other commitments on Monday nights, right? Okay. Okay, we are up to the next item on the agenda. I just want to make a couple comments about how the evening is going to go. I am very happy to see all the people here tonight. Thank you for coming out to the meeting, and thank you to the candidates who are willing to come out and apply for the 2 positions on the Board of Education. It obviously shows that our community truly values the education of our students and their well-being to see so much interest in serving on the Board of Education. So we're conducting this process according to New Jersey law and board policy. All the candidates who wanted to come tonight to speak were invited to attend. They've been asked to address the following points when they come up to the microphone. Their reasons for wanting to serve the community in this volunteer capacity, their perception of the role of school board membership and how the role helps students, their day and evening availability for meetings, their long-term vision for years of service to the board, and their intent to run in the November election, and how they would address the biggest challenges facing the Board of Education in the upcoming year. So I know that the board and the public are very eager to hear from all the candidates, so I'll stop talking. But when we are done hearing from all of them, they're each going to come up in the order that they're listed on the agenda, which is alphabetically, and come up and to the microphone and address the board. We are going to then go into an executive session to deliberate, and then we'll come back. And obviously people will be eager for us to get back, but it's an important 2 decisions we're making, so be patient and we'll get back when we can. Okay, so we're going to get started, and we'll have the first candidate, Mr. Amin. Oh, we can use the podium here, actually in the middle, then everyone can see you in the.
Hey everyone, can you hear me? So, my name is Nimish Amin. Thank you for considering my application to sit on the vacant board seat. Thank you for considering it again. I did apply for the last vacancy that was in June of last year. So I'll give you a quick background of me. I was born and raised in New Jersey. I currently have a 5th grader and an 8th grader in our Basking Ridge school systems. They will each be going to a new school next year at Ridge and William Annan, so that's exciting, anxious times for them. We moved to Basking Ridge in 2005, before kids. In 2011, after kids, we needed more room, so we moved. But we made a very conscious decision to focus on staying in Basking Ridge, especially because of the school system. We have benefited so much from the schools, the teachers, the principals, the parents, the community, and that's one of the main reasons I want to serve on the board. I want to be able to continue that positive spirit. I want to be able to help the board set the tone, set the policies, set the goals, so that we can provide our students the best education that we can. We have to realize there are a lot of different paths of success. We want to set up all of our students for success, and we have to take into account the many different definitions of success and allow our policies to do that. We have to seek input from parents, from teachers, from administration, consult with rules, and based on all that, make recommendations and set the direction for our town to continue the positive reputation it has, the positive spirit, the positive energy. I see the role of the board is to help out with those guidances and policies. Our schools should provide the best education we can, enable success, and as part of that, we should look at the different input from the communities. The program for Bernard's Connect that the Board of Education has set seems very on point. We need to get input from them. We need to be able to communicate with parents and teachers and administration what the challenges are, what the different options are, and how we're proceeding forward. Not everybody will always agree with the direction, but we have to agree on the goal, and that is to help our students get the best education possible. My experience as a lawyer for 20 years, I think, enables me to do that. A lot of what I do is working across groups, across organizations, across different functions to collaborate, to get teamwork together, and so that everybody understands what we're doing and make sure everybody communicates and hears each other so that we are all in it together. As far as availability, my work does allow a fair amount of flexibility. They understand whatever I don't do during the day, I have to do at night, and that's how it's been, and that's fine. For the November election, like I had said last time, if I'm selected to fill the vacancy, my intention would be to continue to try to sit on the board and run in November. So with that, I just want to conclude by thanking you again and looking forward to any comments or other questions people may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Mr. Byrd.
Good evening. Thank you for having me this evening. Thank you for listening to me speak and all the other candidates here this evening as well. For the first question, my reasons for wanting to serve the community. I am a parent. I'm an educator. I work at both the secondary education level and the post-secondary education level. I'm familiar with the matters of curriculum and the demands that our students face. I hold degrees in both educational leadership and special education. I bring 17 years in the field, including curriculum design in science, engineering, arts, and special education, standards implementation, school finance regulations, community outreach, metrics of post-secondary readiness, and more. My perception of the board and the role of a board member. I understand the role of a board member, and the role of the board is an advisory organization. I look forward to bringing my experience to the board so that in collaboration with the superintendent and the other board members, we can develop and enact policies that implement continual growth for our current and future students. My day and evening availability, I do have some contractual obligations that go most days until 2:40. I have spoken with my supervisor as well. We have a rotating schedule. There are some days where I am free an hour before that. There are some days I am free 2 hours before that. As I had previously spoken to the board in the spring vacancy, and I had also run in the November election, I would intend to run in this next November to extend my time on the board. My long-term vision is focused very far in the future. As a father of two, I want to make sure that Bernards Township will continue to be a leader in education for whatever the world looks like when my children and their peers walk across the stage to accept their diplomas in 16 and 18 years from now. How would I address the how would I address the biggest challenges facing the board today? Well, cultural anthropologist Margaret Mead once said it best. We are now at a point where we must educate our children in what no one knew yesterday and prepare our schools for what no one knows yet. As an educator, I am ready to dive into the issues the board hears. I deal with best practices, current trends, visions for the future on a day-to-day basis. If selected, I hope that together with the rest of this team, we can use our collaborative experience to make decisions that will best promote the education and welfare of our students and community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we're up to Ms. Blackman.
Hello, my name is Erica Blackman, and I am so honored to be here tonight to share my ideas and visions with the current Board of Education here in Bernards Township. I truly believe that I am the perfect candidate for one of the open positions on this board. I'm extremely passionate about education, and I have the time and availability to commit to my community in this capacity. I want to serve my community by bringing my 20+ years of educational training, as well as my experience as a parent of 3, to this board. As an educator with a bachelor's in education and a master's in educational leadership, I am uniquely qualified to serve as a school board member. I graduated from Florida State University with a bachelor's in English education. I began my formal teaching career in Washington, D.C., where I taught middle school language arts. While in D.C., I created my own curriculum, focusing on poetry, short stories, African American literature, and writing a research paper. When I was told there was no money for my ideas, I was able to get a volunteer guest speaker during my unit on the Holocaust and fundraise in order to get a class set of the novel The Outsiders. Because of the experience of creating a complete curriculum with limited resources, I believe I would make a valuable addition to the curriculum committee. After my experience in DC, I moved to Tampa, Florida, where I attended the University of South Florida and received my master's in educational leadership. I also taught high school English and supported the students as they navigated writing an essay, deciphering Shakespearean works, and reading literature from a variety of cultures. I volunteered my own time to sponsor the student-run sophomore class and book club. Through these volunteer opportunities, I was able to really get to know my students and learn what teenagers need from the adults in their community. I also began to understand the struggles and limitations of a classroom teacher. Because of my years as a teacher, I think I would work well with the personnel committee. After becoming a parent, I stayed home with my kids, but kept my foot in the education door through tutoring and teaching at my local synagogue. While working with Jewish teens, I created and taught a class called Religion Around the World. I invited guest speakers from other religions and really focused that class on recognizing the value of inclusion and diversity. According to the grade school's website, the minority student population at Ridge High School is 40%, and at Mount Prospect, it is almost 70%. These numbers tell me that we need to be more aware and knowledgeable of our minority students. The experiences and knowledge that I have gained while working with different populations could definitely be an asset as we continue to welcome all cultures to our beautiful town. Because of my values and beliefs in learning from every culture and how inclusion is closely tied to mental health, I believe I would also be an asset for the Wellness Committee. Currently, I teach language arts on a virtual school platform called OutSchool. I create my own lessons, and any student around the world can take my classes. I've been teaching virtually since 2019, so I definitely know my way around Zoom and how virtual education can be utilized. Although I believe in keeping our children in school whenever possible, it is imperative that we have these 21st century skills so that we can continue to bridge education and technology and be prepared for whatever the future may look like. Besides being a teacher, I'm also a parent with children in our school system. I know we all as parents want what is best for our children. Not only do I have the experience of a teacher, but I have the hopes and fears of a parent. As a school board member, I would be able to listen to and work with fellow parents to ensure that all of our students have the best school experience possible. I've already been acting as an advocate for the school board by educating my friends and fellow parents on the topics that matter most to our community. Because of my teaching experience and my attendance at these meetings, other parents have trusted me to share my opinions. The role of a school board is to set goals and a direction for our schools while simultaneously connecting to the community. Each member of the board is a teammate, bringing their own ideas and experience and then working together to make the best decisions for the district. However, the most important focus for all board decisions should be based on the academic and emotional well-being of every child in our school. Because I teach online, I create my own hours, and therefore I am available anytime that committees are meeting or a training is being held. I was already planning on running for a position on the board this coming fall and have been to almost every Board of Education meeting this school year in order to understand the structure of meetings and the nature of these discussions. I understand the responsibility that a school board member undertakes for the good of her community, and I am fully willing to commit my time to a position that I'm so passionate about. With that being said, I also recognize that I have a lot to learn, but I'm an excellent student and, if possible, look forward to learning more through training, meetings, and my fellow board members. The last few years have been unprecedented for our school districts. Besides the everyday challenges that schools and staff face, the COVID pandemic has brought new issues to the table. Maintaining a healthy, safe environment while keeping our kids in school is one of the biggest issues facing our board today. As a board member, it is difficult to navigate what is the best course, not only for our students, but also our staff and community members. Parents need to work and kids need to be in school, but we are mandated by the state to follow the laws of New Jersey. School board members take an oath to uphold the Constitution of our great nation, and therefore, if I'm chosen for this position, I will work to support the decisions of our state and communicate to the parents and community members the necessity of those decisions.
Excuse me, Ms. Black.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but your 5 minutes are up, so please try to finish up.
Absolutely. I am seeking this position for the sake of our students, my children, and all of the children in Bernards Township. They need the adults in their life to work together to create an educational experience that will shape their personalities and help them become the leaders they are meant to be. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. We're up to Ms. Caruso.
Good evening. I think it's remarkable that so many people want to be involved, and I think it's a testament to one of the reasons why our community is so wonderful. I've always been an active community member. Before moving to Basking Ridge 8 years ago, I lived in Bergen County, where I volunteered with Habitat for Humanity, local nursing homes, and I also served as a substitute teacher for the Leonia Public Schools. My husband and I have 3 children in the district, and we love Bernards Township and the diverse families that reside here. When my children were in preschool, I volunteered for everything. I was the homeroom parent, and I also served on the Plekeman Church preschool board as the fundraising chairperson. And then when my children started at Liberty Corner School, I remember how amazing it was watching them embark on their academic careers. And since then, I have been fully committed to our school district and our community by working to foster a positive educational experience for all of the kids. In the last 6 years, I've been a homeroom parent. I've chaired many events for the PTO. I was an enrichment coordinator. I served on the LCS PTO for 2 years in the events role, and I'm currently serving my 2nd year as PTO president. And I believe that the secret to a successful board is compromise, respect, and teamwork. I've also served on the BOE BT Connect Committee, the Superintendent's Parent Advisory Council, the LCS Lions Pride Committee, and the LCS Culture and Climate Committee. I was a faith formation teacher for several years at Our Lady of the Mount in Warren, and I have a special place in my heart for high school students and the challenges that they face. I volunteer with my high school alma mater in North Carolina, where I promote college attendance after high school, and I often tell those students that the impossible is simply another possibility. My perception of the role of school board membership is that of a supervisory role, where I would contribute to decisions that not only maintain our stellar school district, but also help to improve and develop it. As a member, I would help review and approve budgets and policies and evaluate implementation of those policies. represent our district mission, and work to achieve district goals. I would serve as a representative and advocate for our community while prioritizing our students. I believe every decision that the board makes directly impacts our students and their families, and I see myself as a voice for the children. I believe that if we are making the children the focus and the priority, then we can achieve great success. I was an early honors graduate from the University of North Carolina at Wilmington, where I received a degree in business administration with a concentration in marketing and a minor in sociology. And I partnered with my husband in running a law firm. We decided to start the firm years ago so that we could be home with our children and both be active in raising them. And I manage all administrative and marketing aspects of the firm. And let me just tell you that there's nothing that exemplifies patience like working from home with your spouse. But in all seriousness, this working dynamic allows me to make my own schedule. I'm extremely flexible. I can be available for all of the meetings, and I would be honored to serve on any of the committees. My long-term vision would be to eventually serve on each of the committees so that I could get a broader understanding of the inner workings of the board. I'm fully committed, and if selected, I intend to run in the November election. I would address the biggest challenges facing the board today with an open mind. I believe that a proactive approach is the best one, but if that isn't possible, then the first thing I would want to do is understand the challenge by researching and listening. I think that we want to make sure that there aren't any root causes that need to be addressed first. And I would like to do all that because I think that you have to understand the problem before you can solve it. Then I would generate possible solutions and creative alternatives to those solutions. Next, I would help implement the agreed upon solution, and finally evaluate the outcome of the solution. I do not shy away from hard work, especially if it means getting it right. My volunteer work has been in organic development that has brought me here today, and I am motivated to join the board simply because I want to help. I want our school district be the best that it can be, and I also want to ensure that all of our children reach their full potential. They are my heart and our future. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Now we have Mr. Collins.
Good evening. Quite impressive listening to all the other speakers and what they bring to the table. Before I start with my prepared remarks, I just wanted to give you a little background on what I bring. I've been a police officer for 23 years, so I have quite a different view of things maybe than some of the other candidates, which I think might be a good thing because a different way of looking at things could help in some situations. The last 15 years I've been assigned to the Special Operations Division. I've been probably on every major call in the tri-state area in 15 years or so. That includes Hurricane Sandy, the Jersey City shooting, 9/11, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that moving forward, I think it's important that we have different voices and different opinions and different viewpoints on the board. But to the members of the board, good evening. My name is Jonathan Collins. I am submitting my candidacy for an open position on the Bernards Township School Board. I read that when an idea comes, it should be like sitting on a pin. It should make you get up and do something. It wasn't one issue in particular that made me decide to apply for a seat, but the idea that it was time to get up, get involved, and hopefully have a say. With that, I also felt the need to get involved in a community that I am proud to call home. Bernards Township really is a special place for me, and as a transplant to Basking Ridge, I've seen what a great town this is. But there is a reason we all love it here, and I really feel it's the people that live here. I've come to know a good many people in the town, and I've remained friendly with all of them, so when an opportunity arose to give back to this great town, which has given my family and I so much, I jumped at the chance like sitting on the proverbial pin. As a father of two wonderful girls, aged 8 and 6, here at Cedar Hill, I, like all parents, want the best education for them. And I believe that we have a responsibility to see that the high standards set by our schools remain high. But if we abdicate our responsibilities when it comes to our children's education, then we are truly doing them a grave disservice. We must challenge our children to retire, not because it promises great rewards, wealth, or material gains, but because it makes them better citizens and unlocks their potential. Rising to meet the challenges is what made this country great and continues to do so. I know there are many challenges to meet for our school board this year and every year. COVID-19 and school security are two which I feel very strongly about. Both have disrupted or destroyed untold lives. My wife and I were witnesses firsthand. In the beginning phases of the pandemic, she was an oncology nurse who continued to provide care for her patients. I, as a police officer, like many other first responders, continue to answer calls for service no matter what the risk. I have seen firsthand the devastation wrought by terrorism, and school violence is no less terrible. When we took our oaths, we did so knowing that it comes with a great responsibility, a responsibility that I hope to maintain with a position on the Berners Township Board of Ed. As I see it, the members of the board are caretakers of a great educational legacy. We owe it to our children and the children yet to come to advocate for them and their parents to ensure that the best policies that benefit the education of our children are put in place. Many of our residents are from different backgrounds, have different life experiences, and believe it or not, we may disagree politically, but one thing we can all agree on is we must work collaboratively to achieve our goals or nothing is gained. I plan to stand for election in November if called to serve tonight because I feel the right way to do a job is to see it through. No matter what the results are tonight, I only hope for the best candidates to serve on the board, as I know that by being here tonight, they have shown that they are invested in our kids' education as any parent. I appreciate it. As far as my availability, being a police officer has its ups and downs as far as scheduling goes, but I plan to be available if needed. Given some notice, I can make arrangements, but I plan to be here every Monday night, and if there's another meeting time, I can make arrangements to make that happen as well. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, and good luck to all the candidates.
Thank you. Now we have Ms. Sipak. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong.
Good evening. My name is Chilla Chipak. I'm a mother of two girls, Rege, who is 8, and Chenge, who is 18, a naturalized US citizen who grew up in the former Yugoslavia in Europe as a member of the Hungarian minority among multiple ethnicities, languages, and religions. I carry with me a lived, truly multicultural childhood experience. I am a trained engineer and a curious individual who, by research, inspects all aspects of life before proceeding forward. This is precisely how I came to choose this school district when my family moved to New Jersey just a bit more than 2 years ago. Since we have moved to this beautiful small town, I have cherished and loved from the very first day. I have been in a pleasant situation where I could turn all my focus to my family and children by becoming a full-time homemaker. It is quite a new situation for me as I have worked as an architect and then as an industrial designer all my adult years. I now have the opportunity to grow in the most important role of my life, being a mother, and to bring out the best of the unprecedented circumstances we all live in. My sole goal in serving on the Board of Education is taking part in completing the work that has to be done and is being done by this great group of volunteers who open-handedly and graciously give their time to the community and its children. I place great importance on listening to different views, collecting all accessible data, carefully evaluating it, and engaging in meaningful conversations before arriving at a balanced decision that affects our lives and especially our community's dearest members, our kids' future. I believe that the Board of Education's job is to focus on the best interest of the children, carefully allocating all the resources this great school district with its staff has to offer, and implementing policies supported by data. Since parents know their kids the best, I believe they also have to be able to directly influence decisions and be able to advocate for their children. The communication between schools, teachers, parents, and students is more crucial than ever. We all feel some disconnect we haven't felt before, and my goal is to build stronger relationships. Our community has to allocate all the necessary means to help our children in their transition back to their normal life, to build and strengthen their skills, and to flourish in their social interactions in the upcoming school years. I trust this school district to succeed in giving the children the knowledge, strength, and means to become our society's happy, healthy, and contributing next generation. If appointed, I would bring to the Board of Education my engineering knowledge, some experience in financial planning, and intend to work with the other members, teachers, and motivated parents to adjust to the continual changes alongside designing the best possible new infrastructure, environment, and learning experiences for our children. I am ready to learn all that the veteran members of the board know and would like to take this opportunity to thank them for their dedication and many years of service. And lastly, as it was already asked from me, I intend to run in November school board election if my work on the board is satisfactory to the parents of Bernards Township, and I hope you will honor me with your trust furthermore in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're up to Mr. Khanna.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Dinesh Khanna, and I'm seeking this role to use my experience and skills to serve our community and support of my unwavering belief in the power of education. As a 10-year resident of Basking Ridge and a father of elementary school-going twins at MPS, the choice to reside in this town was not accidental but intentional due to the excellent school system. As a parent and a member of the community, our kids' social, emotional, and intellectual development is of paramount importance. Education has always been an integral part of my family. I strongly believe in the importance of education at each stage of life, from infancy to adulthood. I personally have a dual master's degree in math and finance and come from a family of educators engaged in teaching a wide swath of age groups, from kindergarten to undergraduates. My wife and I have been engaged in the MPS community for the past 3 years. Sonia is currently a homeroom parent, and my first experience of reading a book to the first graders was personally very rewarding. It's a tough crowd. With the onset of COVID and the BOE meetings going virtual, it presented me with an opportunity to be involved in these meetings, which I have tried to attend regularly over the past 18 months or so. As an operational executive in the financial industry for over 20 years, I built and led diverse teams, collaborated across teams to achieve common goals. While we need to address the myriad of urgent and imminent issues, we should not and cannot lose sight of the strategic vision to be an agent of change and progress towards long-term growth and sustainability of our community. Communication, transparency, and being a strong proponent of diversity, equity, and inclusion are, in my opinion, key to building, maintaining, and retaining trust amongst our stakeholders. As a member of the BOE, I will support and be a constructive contributor to establishing goals to address our students' educational needs, parent, and community aspirations, while being fiscally responsible. Teachers are our main assets. Establishing conditions, providing tools to enable the administration to retain and hire top talent, effectively evaluate professional staff, and to keep teachers motivated is key for our children to excel and our school to remain competitive. In joining and supporting the BOE, my long-term goals will be to continue to provide our students and staff with safe and secure environment, support and foster an environment for social, emotional, and intellectual development, maintain an environment for our teachers to excel and be creative, thoughtful and intentional decisions making based on facts and data, promote a culture of resiliency, adaptability, and creativity in everything we do, and celebrate equity and inclusion. Finally, I do plan on transitioning my role, if elected, to a 3+ year board member. In closing, I'm cognizant of the time commitment. However, I also recognize the importance and criticality of the role to be able to devote my time and attention. I look forward to the opportunity to serve on the BOE and the community. It's also heartening to see the number of community members interested in this role, and it's not going to be an easy choice. It's testament to how deeply this community we are vested in helping and ensuring the continued success of our school system. I'm confident whoever you will choose today will have the best intentions for all the kids and community at large. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have Mr. Lordy.
Thank you. I'm going to try and get through this without my glasses fogging up, so apologies if I pause. Good evening. I want to extend my thanks to all of you for providing the candidates here tonight the opportunity to explore interest and passion for these vacancies. I too am in awe of all of the people who showed up here today. It's an amazing testament to our community. I believe that there are 2 reasons why I should be selected for the vacancy of the board. Number 1, as head of operations of a law department in a major financial company, I am an accomplished leader without an agenda who excels at bringing people together to find common solutions to difficult problems. But more importantly than that, I am a parent who feels deeply indebted to our school system for the gifts that it has given my children, both an exceptional and a traditional education, and I want to start paying that debt back. Now that my work has changed to a more flexible schedule, I can devote that time, both during the day and at night, by making my own hours and not having that wonderful New York City commute that we all know and love. Let me tell you why I feel that I'm indebted. My daughter started kindergarten in Oak Street this year, and my son has been in the Cedar Hill Behavior Disabilities Program since entering kindergarten in 2019. The challenges and fears that we faced as parents of an exceptional child were daunting, and my wife and I sometimes felt as if it was insurmountable. To be honest, it was a very emotional and scary time for us as we had to quickly navigate through the processes we didn't understand, and quite simply, we were very scared for his future. Many emotional nights were spent between my wife and I because we were so overwhelmed by the enormity of everything that was unknown. But the entire team that we worked with eased that burden, and our fears and concerns quickly vanished. I can't tell you the relief that it brought to us and just how supportive they were, both academically and emotionally. We are so grateful for the hard work and the dedication of the incredible behavior disabilities team in Cedar Hill, and we are so amazed every day by the significant progress that he has made with their help. I knew then that I wanted to help other families as we have been helped, and that pointed me to the vacancies. I fully intended on running in 2022, but when the vacancies were announced, I decided that I should reach for my goal a little bit early. And now let me tell you a little bit why I'm the candidate that should be selected. First, our family has strong ties to the community, and our children will be in the district for many years to come. My wife, Jackie, is a lifelong resident, and our decision to move to Basking Ridge was based largely on Jackie's positive experience and her continued strong ties to the community. In fact, she graduated from this very high school in 2003, although she told me on the way over she's never seen the inside of the pack. It's all kind of new. So I asked her how to get there. She had no idea. Her father has been practicing medicine in town for over 30 years and has no intention of retiring or moving away. So knowing that we had lifelong friends and family around us for a long time, it was just an easy decision for us. And we could not be happier and are proud to call Basking Ridge our forever home. Second, I have a long and successful track record of giving back, going all the way back to my childhood, where my parents always gave of themselves by volunteering in the schools and stressed the importance of volunteering and giving back. Quite simply, it's in my family's DNA. I used to collect for various charities, and I spent thousands of hours as a hospital volunteer from middle school all the way through when I graduated high school. When I graduated high school, I wanted to do something and give back, so I made the decision to join the Marines. I felt it was my way of giving back to the country that had given me so much. I was also figuring that later in life they would be able to train me with invaluable core foundational leadership, teamwork, and innovation skills. I continue giving back to this day at work, and I'm most proud of my role as a mentor in our leadership program and my efforts leading programs within both our veterans and our diversity employee resource groups. And lastly, as I said, I am an accomplished leader without an agenda who excels at bringing people together to find common solutions to difficult problems. The board would have confidence that leveraging my skills towards any goal or any mission that they have would end in a positive result. The board acts as servant leaders, working diligently together as a team to develop creative and innovative solutions, ensuring they are the voice of teachers, parents, and most importantly, the students. They need to find the delicate balance between not only what is right for the student, but also what is possible legally, financially. As a member of our law department's leadership team, we face those same challenges. And just like you, we need to work together to come up with the right solutions. As the leader of our comprehensive operations strategy, including our significant legal budget, innovation projects, and all of HR efforts, I also act as primary counsel to our general and our deputy general counsel, providing them my recommended guidance aligned to our goals. The skills I use daily with great success also align to what I believe is important to the board, namely being an active listener and not reacting and solutioning before fully understanding.
Mr. Lordy, sorry to interrupt, but your time is up, so please try to finish up.
Sure. Being an independent voice, and being an adaptive leader, and being positive. In closing, I hope I've been able to convey my strong passion, significant qualifications, and ability to serve in our shared quest to enhance and enrich all of the children's experience. I want to assure you this is not something I take lightly, and while I'm hopeful to be appointed this evening, regardless of the decision, I'll be throwing my hat in the ring in November. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have Mr. Molinari.
Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, members of the public, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak for a few moments on my application for the BOE. First, I'd like to say, like others have, how proud I am of this community that so many have stepped up to serve on the board. It's a job that's vital and can be thankless. And the fact that this many candidates, whatever you think of their various positions or qualifications, are ready to jump in speaks volumes about the character of this community. My reasons for wanting to serve on the BOE are rather simple. I believe I have something of value to offer the community in this capacity. I've lived in Berners Township for the last 21 years and have two children who have come up through the schools, Oak Street, Whams, and now Ridge. Along the way, I have volunteered my time and efforts in various capacities, coached for years with Ridge Baseball Club. I've been involved with the Knights of Columbus, with St. James Church, and have volunteered with both. I have spent time working at a local food bank during the pandemic. In short, I believe in serving the community in whatever capacity one has the time and capabilities to do. I especially believe in being in the arena and not just critiquing from the sidelines or from the internet. If one has criticisms, but also has capabilities and the bandwidth to be actively involved in making something better, I believe that one has a civic duty to do so. And that's the type of example I want to set for my children. My profession allows me a certain flexibility in schedule. That, combined with the fact that my kids are older and very independent, provide me the opportunity to take on the time commitment necessary to serve. If appointed, it's also my intention to stand for election in November. It is not my intention to dabble. As to my capabilities, my past experiences and accomplishments qualify me for a seat on this board. I believe in the value of public education and have endeavored to be a lifelong learner. I hold bachelor's degrees in history and sociology. I also hold an MBA from the University of Scranton, a Jesuit institution that emphasizes the worth of learning and the value of service before self. My military service in the United States Army complements my formal education. I've served in high-functioning units and high-stress environments with fellow soldiers of every background, attaining the rank of sergeant and being responsible for the well-being of troops not much older than our students at Ridge. We had differences that were there, but the focus was always on the job. If you could do the job, the rest was secondary. These experiences have served me well in my career of specialty medical sales, where communication with diverse stakeholders is key, from discussing scientific information with heads of medical departments to building rapport with the worker at the front desk. Being able to communicate and work with people from diverse backgrounds is vital. In my view, the school board has a role that can be boiled down to a simple statement. The board is not here to run the schools. The board exists to make sure the schools are well run. This oversight is vital to the students, not in the aspect of controlling everything a teacher says or scrutinizing every decision a principal makes, but in placing the best people possible in their respective roles and giving them the support they need and letting them do their jobs. This is not to diminish the role of the board, which does have a role in mediating disputes, setting the overall tone for district learning, making policy decisions. Oversight, not micromanagement, but with the authority to step in collectively when necessary. So what are the biggest challenges that I see for the upcoming year? We don't know what we don't know, and any prospective board member is only seeing a certain aspect of any given issue until they are seated. I will try to speak to what I do know. Budgetary questions will get resolved. The HVAC system at Ridge will be figured out. Whether or not to spend $40,000 on a diversity consultant will be decided one way or another, and future curriculum decisions will be worked out. Eventually, we will learn how to deal with COVID. The challenge to overcome that I see is one of communication. Parents are more involved than ever, which is a good thing. It begins to go off the rails when portions of the community lose confidence in the board. There is no way to make everybody happy, but better communication can go a long way towards restoring and maintaining the community's trust. A place to start is with cultivating a diversity of opinion and outlook on the board. Those of you who have listened to my past public comments have heard me be both critical and complimentary. Always I've endeavored to present my thoughts with civility and respect, and I hope that's been appreciated, even when it's apparent that I don't agree with all the outlooks on the board. We need to be able to disagree without being disagreeable. We need to be able to debate without rancor. We need a Board of Education where a variety of viewpoints are taken into consideration and where the community feels that even if a decision isn't the one they hope for, that they have been represented, listened to, and the reasons for that decision laid out in a respectful manner. I love this town and want what is best for all the children in our schools. I truly believe that by bringing in different perspectives, backgrounds, and outlooks onto the board, we can work together for the best interests of our students. I feel I would be a valuable part of that board. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Now we have Mr. Parker.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this afternoon, or this evening, I should say. Unlike many of the other applicants here, I'm a relatively recent arrival to Basking Ridge. I've been here for a little over 2 years now. My wife and 7-year-old son, who turned 7 in just a week or so, who's a first grader at Oak Street School. But I want to give you a sense of why I'm interested in the position and serving on the board. Obviously, my son's education is extremely important to me, and I expect that he's going to be here for a long time. We chose Basking Ridge specifically because of the quality of the education system here, and I want to be a part of keeping that legacy continued as strong as it is already. If I look at my background, I feel like I've got a number of different experiences that will really serve the board well. I've got over 20 plus years in higher education as a professor of psychology, industrial organizational psychology at a large state university that served students from many different backgrounds, populations. It was located just outside of Chicago. While I was there, I also served as a director of graduate studies there, managed the budget for the Department of Psychology, was also involved in curriculum reviews and setting up the overall curriculum for the department and for my specialty, industrial organizational psychology in particular. After 20-some years as a professor, chairing dissertations, writing grant proposals, and securing funding from the Department of Education in one case, I decided to move into an administrative position within the university. And in that administrative role, I was the head of the Office of Assessment, which was responsible for making sure that the 125 plus degree programs that we had at Northern Illinois University each had a system in place to evaluate student learning objectives and to ensure that those were being met for each of those degree programs. So they were really focused on student success. In addition to that, my office also conducted research studies to look at retention, look at pedagogical practices within the university, and to make sure that those practices were working for each each student group, first-generation college students as well as minority students, which were a big part of the university student population. So looking at retention rates, looking at graduation and success was really important. And the role was not to try to to evaluate those programs necessarily, but rather to ensure that the degree programs themselves had the process in place to make that happen. And I view that as similar to what the role of the Board of Education would be. We're not going to be administering the programs or evaluating them directly, but we want to make sure that there is rigor in place to ensure that the outcomes are being identified well and being met, and that a process is in place to follow that. We're also interested in making sure that other key performance indicators of the school system, such as fiscal responsibility, such as maintaining support for teachers, being able to attract quality teachers, being able to retain those teachers is really important. And of course then the focus on student learning outcomes. So again, I see the board's role really as one of advisory, ensuring that there's rigor in the process and ensuring that the evaluations are conducted appropriately across a wide spectrum of outcomes. If I'm selected for this position, I'll definitely plan on running in the fall as well. The filing date is on my birthday, so I'm not going to forget that piece. And so, again, looking at the challenges I see ahead for students, for teachers, COVID has just thrown everything up in the air, but supporting teachers, supporting the people who are working to educate our students is really top on the list in terms of the current moment. I think focusing on the wellness of our students is really important as well. Longer term, when I hope the world settles down a little bit, the things that I find really important are focusing on scientific literacy. I have a background in chemical engineering before switching over to psychology, so I understand how to think like a scientist, and I believe that that kind of training, scientific literacy, is extremely important. I think that critical thinking skills are some of the most important things to be valued and that serve people well regardless of what field they go into and how the world changes from here on out. So those are the challenges that I would want to focus on as a member of the board. Currently, I am serving as a director of research for an organization that advises companies on diversity in their workforce. We conduct a yearly competition to identify the best companies to work for with respect to diversity. And so I'm very versed in managing diversity, what it takes to bring different perspectives and the value that diversity has.
Excuse me, Mr. Barker, sorry to interrupt, but your time is up, so please try to finish up.
Okay, that was my concluding statement. So thank you, I appreciate the consideration.
Thank you. We are now up to Mr. Rascio.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for considering my candidacy for this vitally important position. My name is Lawrence Rascio, and I respectfully submit my candidacy in hopes of fulfilling one of these roles. Why me? My desire to serve on this board is deeply personal, partially motivated by a debt of gratitude that I owe the Berners Township school community as a whole. In 2014, my son, a first grader at LCS, was diagnosed with leukemia. Anyone who's ever had to face something like this knows that it's the biggest nightmare of a parent's life. But as often the case during the darkest times is that when you see the good in others. It was during this time that the teachers and administrators of LCS transcended their professional responsibility and organized an effort to make sure that my son not only kept up with the curriculum, but thrived. Teachers were willing to come to our home on their lunch breaks to help tutor. His guidance counselor visited him in the hospital with treatments. And the school nurse would regularly talk to his oncologist to make sure that she would maintain the protocol when he returned to school. Naming those superstar teachers and administrators is beyond the scope of this. It wouldn't be appropriate in this setting. But they know who they are. Thankfully, we were able to put this ordeal behind us 4 years later and move on. The resources and efforts put forth by the Berners Township School District were numerous. This type of focus and professional caring is something that cannot be legislated or voted on, but it's rather the result of a culture that has been built and nurtured over time. I'm here to help make sure that our school system doesn't stray from the core values that has benefited my family and so many others. Taking on One of the most important responsibilities, which is helping to plan the education of children, is not something that I take lightly. I have a Bachelor's of Science degree in biochemistry, but spent my entire career in high-level finance, having worked my way up from administrative assistant on a trading desk to running my own hedge fund. Despite this relative success, I was never a strong student. I mean, I was a terrible, terrible student, to be honest. Upon reflection, though, I simply learned differently from those who succeeded within the traditional formatted curriculum. As a result, I am extremely sensitive to the fact that alternative methods of teaching and curriculum development should always be explored so that we can extract the most value for every student. Times have changed, technology has changed, so our teaching methods should be fluid. Do you really need to teach kids the Dewey Decimal System when they can reach in their pocket and pretty much figure out anything they want? Probably not. So why now? The simple answer is because I have the capacity and the time to do so. My earlier years in the district were spent working hard, long commutes into the city, coaching various boys and girls sports in town, and now that's all done. I also think fathers are, well, maybe not after tonight, are underrepresented on the board as well. And I think the board would be well served by having a financial professional who brings with him a unique lessons learned from years of surviving in one of the most competitive fields outside of professional sports. These are critical times for public education, fraught with challenges from outside influential groups, state legislatures, and other groups who might not have our best interest in mind. Another reason I am here is to do whatever I can do in my role to make sure that outside influences, rules, or whatever they're going to be classified as, do not conflict with the values of Berners Township residents, students, and teachers. One example might be pressure from outside influences to get rid of our honors or gifted and talented programs. I can tell you that is something that I would fight and go to the mat for, opposing. If we allow outside influences to alter our curriculum here, then some of the other areas of curriculum, like special needs, which is exemplary in town, are also at risk. People in large part choose to move to Berners Township because of the schools. We've always delivered a private school level education in a public school setting, and that must never change. One of the questions posed by the board is, how would you tackle the most pressing issues facing the board? The short answer is, I don't know. I don't know the minutia of the issues you're facing right now. I don't know what is being mandated by the state and what things we can control. I don't know what the school's financials look like, and I'm not a participant on social media at all. What I do know is that I'm extremely talented in being able to take a problem, break it down to its simplest components, and derive a path to solution. When you're starting a company, you become an expert in extracting and maximizing value from finite resources. I'm quite confident that I can help the district stretch their current budget without sacrificing vital student-oriented programs. I do know that during the height of the open the schools COVID situation, communication from the then current board could have been better. Given that perception is 90% of reality, I would certainly suggest, if I was on the board, that the board engage more frequently in direct communications with the community. If binding edicts are coming out of the state level and we are powerless to fight them without engaging in an expensive lawsuit, then let that be known.
Mr. Raskin, I'm sorry to interrupt, but your time is up, so please try to finish up.
Really? Holy jeez. All right. All right, so, wow. Okay, look, Berners Township has the highest concentration of PhDs according to census tracts. I'm sure we can all come up with a solution that makes things work smoothly and work better. I don't think there's anybody in this room or watching that doesn't have the student's best interest in mind. So I humbly submit my application and look forward to your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. We're up to Ms. Singh.
Good evening, board members and members of the Berners Township community. We have heard some statements from many individuals this evening. My first thought was very impressed. I said, wow, it's pretty amazing that we have so many people who are taking interest in our schools and students. My second thought was, what makes us qualified? Well, I can tell you that I feel very strongly about my ability to make positive changes for our community. Professionally, I have always been involved in public health and wellness. After undergrad, I went to Harvard to pursue public health, which landed me to work at a well-known bank on Wall Street. I ran wellness programming for employees all across the globe. I learned how to write and execute policies, training employees in various countries. After leaving that position, I went on to culinary school to pursue a passion, and then on to integrative nutrition, where I married my passion with my wellness inclinations. I've now learned how to merge the concept of mental wellness with physical wellness. I currently own a small local business as a trained chef and a licensed health and wellness executive, where I work with many members of the community to do just that, merge mental and physical wellness. With COVID, it's become glaringly obvious that along with us, the adults, our students feel this mental and physical stress of the pandemic life as we are still living through it. I feel this is one of the major areas that I would love to focus on if I become a board member. My husband and I moved to Basking Ridge in the summer of 2016, right before my eldest daughter was about to start second grade at Mount Prospect. My son was only 1 at that time. Coming into a new town, I wanted to get involved, so I became a class mom, and I got the opportunity to meet a lot of parents and teachers and administration at MPS. The teachers and staff at the elementary level did such a wonderful job with organization and making each student feel so important. I knew right away that the best decision our family could have made at that time was to be in Basking Ridge, and I still stand by that today. I concurrently also started a Girl Scout chapter for my daughter and other second graders at MPS. My troop is still running today, and we have grown to 8 dedicated Girl Scouts who are working towards their Bronze Award. It's simply an honor to have had a very minute part in shaping them into empowered girls. They are excelling in and out of the classroom. Fast forward to 5th grade at MPS, and I again received an opportunity to get involved by co-chairing 5th grade events for my daughter's class. I got a chance to work with Mrs. Hosney, and under her guidance, we fundraised and advocated for the graduating class, making extravagant plans for a proper send-off to WAMS. Unfortunately, COVID put a big halt into our plans temporarily, but we were able to postpone to this past summer, and we did it bigger and better than we even could have imagined when everything became a little bit safer. When I got to WAMS with my first daughter, I again felt the urge to get involved, and so I joined the PTO as board president. I had the good fortune of working with Mrs. Hudak as well as some very educated and knowledgeable parents through the challenging year of quarantine and virtual everything. That opportunity gave me a window into the world of the BOE, and I was lucky to be on various committees, including the Parent Advisory Committee, Superintendent's Advisory Committee, and the PTO President's Committee. When a vacancy arose last summer, I jumped at the chance to get involved, and luckily I was appointed to be on the BOE. I served on the board for several months last year and really witnessed the ins and outs of how the board is expected to operate. Having gone through many trainings under some pretty dynamic and knowledgeable individuals, I started learning a lot more about our school system. I'm hopeful that I will get a chance to come back as a board member and work hard to better our schools and create stellar opportunities for our students and their families. At the end of the day, we're all present today because we have a common interest. We want to make a difference and perhaps make a change for the better, or we might just feel compelled to do a civic duty and get involved on some level. I realize that being on the Board of Education comes with very, very high expectations. I'm willing and able to put the time commitment into the board meetings as well as committee meetings as I have done so in the past. I want to be there to listen to our community of teachers, students, parents, and the administration. I'm happy to be teachable and come with that growth mindset that requires hearing opposing views. I encourage and will act to support open lines of communication. I want to be a liaison for parents who need help with their concerns or just need assistance in finding a voice. I plan on throwing my name back into the November election because I want to be involved for the long haul. To me, this is not just a temporary job, but rather a priority that I hold near and dear. I have 3 kids now. Currently a 7th grader at WAMS, a 1st grader at Liberty Corner, and a 4-year-old who will start kindergarten at Liberty Corner this fall. I'm interested in their future as well as the future of all of our children in Basking Ridge. One of my favorite quotes that I want to leave with is said by Helen Keller, "Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much." This quote embodies our community and the power we have to give our students the best education they can receive. I can only hope that we can teach our kids to grow up to be astute and compassionate human beings who leave the world a better place than they found it. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. And now we have Ms. West.
Good evening. My first comments are to all the folks that were here and put their name in the hat. At first, I was thrilled that there was such enthusiasm and entrance for, I saw 17 names and then 13 names. I was blown away. I sat here today and listened to them speak, and now I'm incredibly humbled. These are a talented group of people that come here today to ask to be on this Board of Education. I think that says a lot. And I hope that the ones that do not get on for this evening, I see their names in November, because I certainly would be outvoted. I have the distinction of being a graduate of Ridge High School. I was born and raised here in Liberty Corner. I went to Liberty Corner, Cedar Hill, Lambs, and Ridge. That was back in the 80s. We're not going to say the year. I moved on from Liberty Corner and went out to Denver. I studied hospitality management, where I learned many skills, including placating difficult clientele, working my way through labor issues, and overall management organizational skills. After Colorado, I then went to Virginia, where I went to law school. I went to George Mason School of Law and practiced law in New Jersey for a few years. Then went on to Colorado, where my husband and I had our 2 oldest children. I practiced in the field of litigation, insurance subrogation, and some real estate. A few years practicing there, I came back to New Jersey, relocated. I worked in a firm for real estate, transactional types of law. We selected Bernards Township for exactly the reason that everyone up here has said, in no small part for the education system. At the time, we had a 4-year-old and an 18-month-old, so school system was critical. I can't say I was really excited to move back to my hometown simply because no one ever wants to go to your hometown because it's never the same. But I pushed and we encouraged my husband to give it a try. And we have enjoyed the last 18 years here in Basking Ridge. We had another daughter who is currently in the school. My son graduated and had a fantastic experience here throughout the entire system. He graduated a few years ago and is doing very well, not in any small part to the education he received through this system. My daughter went through the school system with an IEP, so I'm somewhat familiar of how the paths are for the honors, for the IEPs, and those in the middle. My youngest, who is currently at Ridge, we won't discuss where her situation is right now, lest I'm sure all of you who have teenagers know that that's not something that we should ever bring up into the public. I was not one of the ones that was ever focused on the Board of Education. I paid attention, but did I pay and watch? No. I trusted that the folks that were here cared about each and every child, they cared about the community, and I trusted them to do their job. For the most part, I can't say that I agreed with every decision because no one ever can, but I truly believed that the decisions were made for the majority and well thought out and for the best of all of us. Some point in the last few years, I felt in the community and in the world that there seems to be a decrease of tolerance, empathy, understanding. It seems to be in retreat. I believe those core values are taught from the top and they are lived. I feel I can bring that focus back to the core values amongst the board and hopefully amongst the children. I think that if we live as the board with these core values, we can influence the administration, teachers, parents, and each of the children. Be clear, I'm not saying that the board doesn't show that it cares. It clearly cares because this is a big job. I'm saying that we can bring it to the forefront on every decision made. My skill set is I'm even-keeled, I'm pragmatic, and thorough when it comes to decisions. I am not going to tell you that I am not quick to react and spit out comments, but my decisions are well-researched, thoroughly considered from all sides, and I have strong negotiating skills.
Excuse me, Ms. West, sorry to interrupt, but your time is up, so please try to finish up.
Sure. I do have the time available to commit. I do work full-time, but I work locally, and the folks that own the company happen to have students in the school system, so I believe, and I have spoken with them, that they would believe every moment that I dedicated to this would be time well spent. So I appreciate it, and I know you have a really tough choice tonight, so good luck.
Thank you. Yes, that was an impressive group of people that we get to go to discuss. So we need to have a motion to go into executive session. Would someone like to make a motion? Ms. Gray? Mr. Salmon seconded the motion. I hate to make an estimated time of return. There's an estimated time on the agenda, but as I said before, it's an important decision, and we will do our best to be efficient in our discussions. We'll see you soon. Everyone has to vote to go out, sorry. In favor, all in favor? Okay. Okay, we're back. Just wanted, before we move forward with nominations, I wanted to thank everyone who came out tonight. It's a very hard decision. Lots and lots of great candidates came out, and I want to encourage anyone who doesn't get nominated and appointed to keep coming to meetings and stay involved, because as a lot of people up on this stage have experienced themselves, people here have been appointed and come back out. Some of them had to come out multiple times before they got appointed and then ended up running. So please don't be discouraged, and please come back out. So the way it's going to work is we have 2 positions to fill. So we're going to have a nomination and a vote to fill the one position, and then we're going to do the second one afterwards. So it's going to go in 2 separate votes, okay? So at this point, we're up to the nominations. Would anyone like to make a nomination? Karen?
Yes, I would like to nominate, I want to say it correctly, Dinesh Khanna.
Okay. Would someone like to second that?
I second that nomination.
Suzanne?
Sorry.
Okay. It's hard to hear. See, the microphones project in a weird way that it doesn't sound like it's coming from where you are to me. Okay, so Suzanne has seconded. Are there any other nominations?
Well, let's
Or
do
no?
one at a time.
No, I know, but don't we have to offer that? Or no, it's not how it works for this?
No, it's like a motion. Right?
Okay, a motion.
It's
Okay.
like a motion, so we have a motion and a second.
Okay, so that we don't have to ask if there's any
No,
other
your
motions.
policy says
Okay.
to do each position in order, so
Okay.
we have a motion.
Okay,
and
we have a
second.
motion and a second. So at this point, we will take a vote.
A roll call.
A roll call.
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. Gray?
Yes?
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Ms. Hira?
Yes.
Ms. Light?
Yes.
Ms. McCune?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we will do a vote, a nomination for the second position. Would somebody like to make a nomination? Mr. Salmon?
I nominate Gurdia Singh.
Okay, would somebody like to second that nomination?
I second that.
Okay, Mrs. White? Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. Gray?
Yes?
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Ms. Hira?
Yes.
Ms. Light?
No.
Ms. McCune?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Crute. Okay, so at this point, congratulations to the two appointees. We do bring them right up here tonight and swear them in. So where are you guys? Conrad's not here to do it. Okay, so could the two appointees please come forward?
Bring your stuff up because you're going to just sit right over there.
Yeah, you have to come up and sit over there, so. Okay, they're going to get sworn into office right now for everyone that's out there.
Turning on your mics. Okay, in the absence of the board secretary tonight, I'm going to handle the swearing in of the two new board members. So as I've explained, please repeat after me as we go through the oaths. There's 2 oaths that we have to give, all right? The first, I
Dinesh Khanna.
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
we can say it together, that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the government established in the United States and this state,
and to the governments established in the United States and this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Okay, the second oath. I
I, Vidya Singh,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law
that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law
for the office of member of a Board of Education,
for the Board of Education,
and that I am not disqualified as a voter
and that I'm not disqualified as a voter
pursuant to RS 19-4-1,
pursuant to RS 19-4-1,
nor disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense
nor disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense
listed in NJS 18A-12-1,
listed in NJS 18A 12-1,
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
perform all the duties of that office
perform all the duties of that office
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome. It's kind of a exciting way to join the board, to just get thrown up here. We're going to move forward with the rest of the agenda for the meeting. If we're voting on anything, that you guys can abstain if you haven't, seen the documents and things like that when it's your turn. So we're now up to Superintendent's report. There are 3 items. Would someone like to make a motion for those 3 items? Mr. Salmon? And Mrs. Gray seconded. Mr. Markarian? Have anything to say about those 3 items?
The first is the annual submission of the self-assessment for our anti-bullying Bill of Rights for each of the 6 schools. The second is the HIB report for January 24, 2022. The third is approving a Rutgers research project, which is designed to provide training for our paraprofessionals in an effort to help them with some behavioral support strategies for students. And that's it.
Okay. Could we have a roll call? A vote. Items 1 to 3.
You get a motion in a second.
Oh, we had a motion and second.
Yes, we did.
already.
Mr. Salmon moved it and Ms. Gray seconded it. Okay. Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. Gray?
Yes?
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Ms. Hira?
Yes.
Ms. Light?
Yes.
Mr. Khanna? Okay. That was abstain, I think, right, Mr. Khanna? Thank you. And Ms. Singh?
Abstained.
Ms. McCune?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're now up to public comment on agenda items. If you come up to make a public comment, please tell us your name and address before you speak. Thank you. On agenda items, so this would be a comment on anything that's on the agenda for tonight. Okay, I don't see anyone coming down. We also have a Zoom to check to see if there's people in there.
There's nobody there.
There's nobody waiting in the Zoom?
No.
Okay, so no public comments. I'll be closing this public comment. Moving on to approval of minutes. Can we have a motion for that item? Mr. Salmon. Someone else in a second. Mrs. White. Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. Gray?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Ms. Hira?
Yes.
Ms. Light?
Yes.
Mr. Khanna?
Abstain.
Ms. Singh,
Abstain.
Ms. McEwen.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, for finance, there's items 1 through 16. Would someone like to make a motion? Mrs. Gray and Ms. Light, seconded. Is there a committee report, Mr. Salmon?
Yes, there is. Finance met on Thursday, January 20th. The first item for discussion was a bond refunding opportunity. A presentation was given by Brian Morris of Phoenix Advisors, who is bond advisors to the district, and Tony Solomine from Willens, Goldman, and Spitzer, who is bond counsel to the district. Mr. Solomine explained the statutory scheme for public school bond refunding, which I'm going to go into a lot of detail here, but it's essentially like refinancing a mortgage to get a better rate. Bonds can be refunded for 10 years after issuance. After that, if the district can realize more than 3% net present value, it must by law do a refunding, and the savings goes directly to tax relief. The refunding does not change the repayment structure of the term of the refunded bonds, just the interest rate. For a school to complete a refunding, it must pass a resolution to adopt a refunding bond ordinance at a public meeting, and then adopt a form and sale resolution at a subsequent meeting. Bonds were sold in 2005 as part of a $54 million referendum for additions and renovations to the schools and administrative offices in the district. In May 2012, the district issued bonds to advance refund a portion of the 2005 bonds. The 2012 bonds, so that was kind of like the first refinancing. The 2012 bonds were sold with a call date of July 15th, 2022, and reached final maturity on July 15th, 2029. The 2012 bonds that mature from July 15th, 2023 to 2029, which is approximately $8.8 million in bonds, are eligible for refunding and would save the district approximately $810,000 or approximately $105,000 per year, which is net of costs for the refunding. The refunding bond ordinance on the agenda states that the refunding is not to exceed approximately $9.2 million because the market conditions may fluctuate between now and the day of the refunding, and to incorporate the interest expenses and the cost of the refunding. Tonight we will be voting on the refunding bond ordinance, which will authorize Mr. McLaughlin to work with Mr. Solomine and Mr. Morris to execute the refunding. The second item discussed was the Oak Street roof project. You'll see on the agenda tonight is a resolution to award the contract for Oak Street roof repair project to a company called Pravco. Pravco actually submitted the second lowest bid because it was determined based on conversations with the lowest bidder and the district's contract counsel that the lowest bid was materially deficient and must be rejected. Tony Katana, the district's architect, knows Pravco and says they have a good reputation. A portion of this work will be, up to 40% of the cost of this work will be paid for by a state grant. This project will be completed over this summer. The next item up for discussion was the Aramark work order status system. The committee was Bill Larkin, who's the new Director of Facilities for the district, came and gave the committee a presentation on the Aramark work order system. Mr. Larkin intends to streamline the work order system to classify work orders into one or several categories: plumbing, HVAC, electrical, etc., which will allow him to prioritize and track status of work and completion. Mr. Larkin will also train Aramark personnel on how to categorize work orders and to remove work orders once completed. There was an update from John Perrin, who's the Assistant Director of Facilities, and Mr. Larkin again, who's the Director of Facilities, on several project closeouts. The WAM science labs, there was a few items left to be done, but most of them got done over the Christmas break. The HVAC controls upgrade, Mr. Larkin received a timeline from our controls vendor. So this isn't the machinery, this is just the software that controls the machinery to do the HVAC in the district. Our vendor is AME. Ridge High School is substantially complete. However, there is some change order work that is being done to address some coil damage that we had over the colder days. And the remaining schools in the district will be worked on continuously in succession over the next several weeks. Completion for the full district is expected in mid-March. Mr. McLaughlin provided an update on the district's implementation of the New Jersey Educator Health Plan, which is referred to as Chapter 44. The New Jersey Educator Health Plan reduced employee contributions compared to the Chapter 78 contributions that employees had previously been made. Mr. McLaughlin spoke with Arthur Gallagher, the district's health benefits consultants, to review the claims data since the start of the NJEHP in January 2021, and the district has not seen any reduction in claims. In terms of the items on the agenda, 1 through 3 are standing items. Number 4 is professional development. Number 5 is a correction. It's to acknowledge the donation from Liberty Corner PTO for $16,000. Thank you for the donation. I previously reported that was for a faculty lounge or faculty space upgrade, but it's actually for painting murals in the cafeteria. So thank you again to Liberty Corner. I apologize for the mistake. Number 6 approves a contract with the Somerset Hills Y for the swim team for 21-22. Number 7 rejects the incorrect bid for the Oak Street roof project and awards the roof project to Pravco, the second lowest bidder. Number 8 is, as I explained, the notice of bond refunding ordinance to refinance callable 2012 bonds. Numbers 9 through 14 are grant modifications for carryover grant funds. Number 15 amends tuition costs for out-of-district students, and number 16 is student services. That's it.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. Gray?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Ms. Hira?
Yes.
Ms. Light?
Yes.
Mr. Khan?
Abstain.
Ms. Singh?
Abstain.
Ms. McCune?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Under the policy committee, we have 21 items. Would someone like to make a motion? Personnel, yeah. Oh, did I say policy? I'm sorry. It's personnel, 21 items. That would be bad if there was 21 policies. Okay, personnel, 21 items. Did you raise your hand, Mrs. Gray? And Mr. Salmon, thank you. Is there a personnel committee report?
There is, but it's very short. So I had the pleasure of doing minutes for 2 separate committees this time around. All right. So the only thing I can report out for personnel that's not confidential is that Mr. Syed heard from the head of HR in Madison about a diversity, equity, inclusion firm that they are using, which is called the Equity Leadership Group. Mr. Syed will, and may have already spoken with the head of the firm, and may be scheduling a meeting between the firm and the personnel committee for February. This would represent another possible company for doing the DEI consulting work that we've been discussing. And that's it.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. Gray?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Ms. Hira?
Yes.
Ms. Light?
Yes.
Mr. Khanna?
Abstain.
Ms. Singh?
Abstain.
Ms. McCune?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, now we're up to the policy.
Mrs.
There's
McKean?
only 2 items.
Can I ask a question about personnel before we move on to, sorry. Is it possible, and I don't know if it is, but I don't know what stage you're in, for Mr. Syed to share anything on the item that Mr. Salmon just reported?
Are you referring to the DEI initiative?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
whether that's going to move forward to the next step.
Yeah, well, no, we've already had 2 proposals, and we are now going to interview a third proposal, a third consultant. So I did speak to Dr. Carla Manning today, and I'm going to be setting up actually a separate meeting for the Personnel Committee to just meet with her so that we can find out some more information, get another quote, and then hopefully make a determination to move forward so that we can board approve a contract in February.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so for policy, there are 2 items. Would someone like to make a motion? Mrs. White? Would someone like to second? Ms. Light? Is there a policy committee report?
Yes, policy met on January 10th, and we had a discussion regarding district policy P9130 titled Public Complaints and Grievances, and this policy essentially outlines that a parent has the right to address an issue that they have with the board. However, the policy does not indicate what needs to be put in writing and submitted to the board before the board addresses the issue. So there was a dialogue to amend the regulation to provide some guidance on what information should be supplied to the board in writing. We also had a second reading on policy 0167, which is titled Public Participation in Board Meetings. And the policy has been amended and updated to reflect that a public comment shall last a duration of 3 minutes, which is what we've been doing. We agreed that we're not going to change the policy. at this time, we're just going to provide a modified method of participation to the public. And as the meetings have been in person for some time now, there was a discussion that as of January, all public comments should be made in person. However, as you noticed today, even though we want to get back to the spirit of in-person meetings and comments being made in person, the board agreed to allow individuals who cannot make the meetings in person to make their comments virtually. And then we also have a second reading on Policy 5751 and Regulation 5751, which is titled Sexual Harassment of Students. And this was reported out at the last meeting. There are no changes from the first reading. However, there was a discussion to review the policy to make certain that it is consistent with the district's record retention policy. So we're going to get advice from council, which will be considered at the next policy meeting. That's it.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. Gray?
Yes?
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Ms. Hira?
Yes.
Ms. Light?
Yes.
Mr. Khanna?
Abstain.
Ms. Singh?
Abstain.
Ms. McCune?
Yes.
Motion carries.
We're up to curriculum. There's one item. Would someone like to make a motion for the one item? Mrs. Gray and Mr. Salmon. Is there a curriculum committee report?
Yes, there is. Do we need to do anything in terms of the new course before I read the minutes?
No, do the minutes and then we'll vote after.
Okay. Beginning the 2022-23 school year, students who enroll in choir will be placed in concert choir or ridge chorale based on their voice rather than gender. Concert choir will be made up of bass voices in grades 9 through 12 and treble voices in grades 11 and 12. Ridge chorale will be treble voices only, grades 9 and 10, and both courses remain a 6-credit full course. If any student has a question in terms of what their voice is, they or their counselor would contact their music teacher, who then would work with the student to ensure that the student was placed in the correct course. We were provided with an update about the revised 9th grade physical education program. Introduction to fitness began at the start of marking period 2. The purpose of this course was to provide students with a strong foundation in the 5 components of fitness, which are muscular endurance, muscular strength, cardiovascular endurance, flexibility, and body composition. The information and practice in the course will provide students with the knowledge and skills necessary to safely and effectively engage in a variety of fitness activities throughout their lifetime. Every 1 to 2 weeks, a different area of fitness is covered, and at the end of the course, students create their own fitness plan with goals for personal benefits. Introduction to sport and movement will begin at the start of marking period 3. The purpose of this class is to provide students with an understanding of the fundamental foundations of the 4 categories of sport: invasion games such as soccer, team, handball, basketball; target games such as golf, archery, frisbee golf; fielding and striking games such as kickball, softball; and net games like badminton, volleyball, pickleball. Students will apply the 6 skill-related components of fitness: agility, coordination, balance, power, speed, and reaction time in active participation. With this foundation, students will be able to explore a variety of sports and activities that they may be able to participate in as part of a lifetime of activity. The department supervisors each did a deep dive into grades that were received last marking period and courses that had 5 or more students drop down a level, and compared this to the teacher recommendations provided to students prior to course selection last winter. Feedback from all supervisors consistently was that the majority of students who dropped down had not been recommended to the course in which they enrolled. Many also suggested that the return to normalcy may have impacted the decision to drop down. For example, last year, often tests and quizzes were open notes, and students are finding it difficult to perform as well without them. This was the case with world language, where notes and translators could be used last year. Therefore, they've leveled down because they were not feeling successful. Some students in 6-credit AP and enriched science courses have a lab that encroaches on part of 1 lunch period a week, and some students drop down as they decided they did not want to give up that time for a lab. In some subjects, for instance math, students drop down for a better fit. In courses such as AP Gov, in all cases of students who dropped down, they did not follow teacher recommendations. Students may have qualified for a course, but that's different than it being the best fit, and going forward, counselors will continue to have these conversations with students. At the same time, we do not want to dissuade a student from trying a higher level. In addition, for students who are new to the district, we do not have teacher recommendations, and that can skew data as well. The data will be tracked for the next few years to see what may or may not be related to COVID. The option 2 presentation date has been moved to February 8th at 7 p.m. in the Ridge Pack right here, with a rain or snow date of February 9th. It will be recorded and it will be available for parents and students to view if they're unable to attend. Discussions on expanding health have been put off until next fall. Mr. Shello explained that they need to review the new standards and make adjustments to the current curriculum. He'll be attending a county meeting to get more information, and then a proposal will be presented to us in the fall. Mr. Colmer then reviewed what we had discussed and agreed upon in prior meetings regarding summer geometry, which is an alternate path open to only eligible 8th grade students. The purpose of this opportunity is for qualified students to move between a 1-year ahead accelerated mathematics pathway to a 2-year ahead accelerated mathematics pathway. For students who are successful in this program, they will be able to take Honors Algebra 2 in 9th grade. He shared 3 very important points, which I really want to emphasize so that everybody realizes that has been made clear. 1, this is an in-person only instructional program. 2, this course needs at least 9 students to participate in order to minimally fund the cost. If less than 9 students meet the criteria, the program will not run. However, only those students who meet the criteria will be offered the opportunity to take both Honors Geometry and Honors Algebra 2 concurrently during the student's 9th grade school year. No other accommodations will be made. And 3, students must submit an application by the deadline in order to be considered. Information about the course and eligibility will be available shortly, and it will be available on the website. And lastly, Mr. Terry has checked in with the social studies teachers to try to determine if sophomores have been able to complete their community service hours, which were reduced to 10 hours for this school year. He has received mixed responses. Some students have been able to, while others have not due to volunteer opportunities being canceled. He's working on some in-school opportunities for students so that they can complete their hours. Students of the National Honor Society have mostly completed their hours, which also presents tutoring opportunities for 10th graders, and that option is being shared with qualified sophomores. Our next meeting will be February 3rd.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mrs. White? No? Okay, could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Salmon?
Yes.
Ms. Gray?
Do we have a motion?
Yes.
We did.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, it was me.
You actually made the motion.
Yes. It seemed so long ago. It was just so getting late. Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Schaefer?
Yes.
Ms. Hira?
Yes.
Ms. Light?
Yes.
Mr. Khanna?
Abstain.
Ms. Singh?
Abstain.
Ms. McCune?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, we are up to the Wellness Committee. Is there a report?
There is not. We are working on rescheduling the Wellness Committee meeting for availability of participants. So stay tuned.
Okay, thank you. Liaison Committee reports. Does anybody have any?
Just one quick one. I'm the newly appointed Municipal Alliance Liaison, and I'm all signed up, and I have my training via Zoom tomorrow morning and the meeting later. I guess it's early Feb.
Okay.
So I'll be reporting back.
Thank you for volunteering to serve in that capacity.
Okay, if you want to use that word.
Yeah. Any other liaison reports? No? Okay, so now we're up to public comment on non-agenda items. If you're going to make a public comment, please give us your name and address before you speak. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. My name's Eric Cuda, 151 Thackeray Drive, Basking Ridge. I guess first time here, so thank you to everybody who's been serving the last couple of years and all the work you guys have done. Good luck to the two new folks. There's a lot of work to do, so excited to see how you guys will contribute to everything going on. I think what I want to talk about today is masking. There's a lot going on in the news around masks, and I just really want to make sure that we have a plan. We are prepared for the moment that this executive order is actually lifted, and we aren't just scrambling and being reactive. I think back to last year when summertime came, we had some excessive heat. We didn't know what to do. Murphy was saying one thing. Certain districts were all over the place. So I guess what I'm seeing in the news is certain countries are removing mask mandates. About almost 40 states in our country do not have a mask mandate. In fact, breaking news just now was that New York had a judge strike down their mask mandate. So I just got a text from my wife. My nephew, who lives in Long Island, already got an email from his school district saying we will not be mandatory masks anymore. It'll be optional. So I guess I hate these masks myself. I guess all I'm asking you guys is to really be thoughtful, be proactive, because it's coming. I mean, he extended his emergency orders for 30 days. That's coming up in 2 to 3 weeks. The case rate when he put it in was about 35,000 positive cases a day. Right now, today, it's down to about 7,100. So that's a more than 70% decrease. Cases are going to keep going down. Hospitalization is going to keep going down. We need to be prepared for the moment that that is lifted to help our children. I just think it's probably one of the most important things we could focus on, you guys can focus on, and hopefully you hear from one parent. I speak for a lot of the kids that my children from Cedar Hill associate with. I don't know any kid that doesn't mind wearing a mask. I know I've heard that a couple times over the years. I haven't seen one. I don't get to pick up a lot, but when I do, I see a lot of faces and I can't see expressions. So if I can't tell what a kid's thinking or if they're smiling or not, I'm sure my kids can't either. So please be thoughtful about these kids when that mask mandate is lifted. I'm not saying you can't enforce masks. If a parent wants to send them in, please, by all means, send them in. But if a parent knows what's best for their child, I'm begging you, when that thing is lifted, please, on behalf of all the little kids in elementary schools that I know of here in Basking Ridge, I'm begging you to be prepared to act for them. So that's the first thing. Second thing, just real briefly, I think another thing this board should really think about, you folks really have an awesome opportunity. In the CDC guidance, in the New Jersey Department of Health guidance, they actually recommend clear masks for several kids, right? Special needs students. Also students that are early learners and learning to read. If you ask me, anyone in elementary school is learning to read because learning comprehension is learning to read. These kids, these teachers that they're interfacing with and staff.
Excuse me, sir. Sorry to interrupt. Just if you could finish up.
They should have clear masks for our littlest learners. Please, please, let's do this for the kids. Please. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else for public comment here in person? No? Okay, what about on Zoom? We have one on Zoom? Okay.
And another one. This one. You did. Okay. Yeah. Guess I have to unmute it. Right? Name. Hello? TE, you have entered the meeting. Can you hear us? In the meeting. There's 2 more people in the waiting room. Hello, TE, can you hear us? You're in the meeting. Can we go to the next one? Oh, right. I'll go to the next one.
We're trying to connect with the next person in the Zoom meeting.
Hello, Ripa? Carta? Hi, you're in the meeting.
Thank you. This is Rippy Carta, 58 Independence Drive, Baskin Ridge. I want to thank the board for their careful consideration of the various extremely qualified candidates that presented themselves this evening. It's really nice to see so many of our neighbors and colleagues and friends and other constituents of the district coming forth and wanting to serve in a volunteer capacity. Congratulations to those selected, and lots of luck to the entire board to going forward, working together, and hopefully making some positive decisions that keep in mind the safety and education of all our students, not just those that need assistance. I'm here to actually make a comment asking the board to, regardless of whatever the mask mandate may be, that the board seriously consider keeping masks as a requirement in the school district just until the weather gets a little bit warmer, we get everything under control a little bit, and just keep in mind the safety of all students involved, staff, including the teachers, the academic folks, everybody. It's not everybody gets a choice in this, let's put it that way, and just keeping in mind the overall community's safety and well-being. And once again, thank you to this board for carefully considering tonight's candidates and making their decisions.
Thank you. TE, can you hear us now? No? I'll let the next one in. Oh, that was Robin. That was our Robin. So that's it, just TE that can't get in. TE, can you hear us? We're in the meeting. No. Yeah.
Yeah, we do have more people. There's nobody else in Zoom?
No, that's
Okay, so if there's anyone still here in person that wanted to make a comment? This is our first time doing it this way, so.
Hi, Lisa Press, 85 Springhouse Lane. I wrote to you last week regarding the SOS Express that was sent on Friday, January 14th. I was surprised to see that the updated COVID policy included a requirement for students to wear respirators, N95s, KN95s, and KF94 masks. As the CDC and the National Institute of Occupational Health, Safety and Health and the New Jersey Department of Health guidelines do not include these requirements, and this policy change was in complete contradiction to federal and state guidelines and recommendations, which specifically state respirators are typically designed for adults and therefore have not been tested for broad use in children. And the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health does not approve any type of respirator for protection in children. Additionally, this is not recommended by the New Jersey Department of Health. The school has mentioned numerous times at Board of Ed meetings and also in emails that they work with the Township Department of Health. I contacted the Department of Health with the Township and spoke to the health officer and the Somerset County Superintendent's office, and they were not consulted and were unaware of this policy change. Thank you for removing the policy and this requirement. As just last week, my kindergartner was sent to the nurse's office 3 times because he couldn't breathe in his cloth mask. My question for you tonight: what is the process for making such policy changes? In the past, it was stated that you aligned with CDC, New Jersey Department of Health, and the local health department on guidelines, which clearly seems to not have been the case here. Can you comment on the process and what you take into consideration when making these policy changes? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Barbara Geary, 66 Dryden Road. I'm sure you all have seen many emails from me at this point. We are all tired. We are standing here still talking about masks 2 years into the situation. If the mandate is lifted, children should not go to school if parents do not want that mask on their child. It's not fair. I decide what goes on for my child, not anyone else. If a mask works and you want your child in a mask, put it on their face. Not my business. My business is my child. No one else's. It does not, if this mask is working, then it will be fantastic for your child. It is not fantastic for mine. The board set out a bunch of goals last month, in December. Not one goal pertained to COVID-19 and the policies and procedures that are going on. We're getting emails saying that children should wear N95 masks and be excluded from their friends when they go back to school and have lunch. And the middle school lunch situation is not acceptable. It is not acceptable to sit in a room with 15 to 20 other students and every other person is eating. And the other people that are not eating are told, you're in study hall. That is not acceptable. Find a better way. I spoke to 2 board members about this. One was not aware that that was going on. How do you not know that that's the policy at a school? I sat here this evening. Someone told me in an elementary school at snack, children are being told to put down your mask, take a bite of food, and put on your mask to chew. What are you doing to these children? It needs to stop. This is abusive. This cannot go on anymore. Stop it. You have the power. We've put you on this board. You're voted in. You have the power to change these things. Please, change it. Childhood is ending for some of these people. It's not fair. It's not acceptable to take someone's childhood away. Stop the insanity. It's ridiculous. They go to sports. They hang out together. They do all this thing. And then we play this make-believe game of putting on your masks and going to school. But as soon as you come out, go play sports, go do this without your mask. They go to restaurants. They're living their lives other way. Stop what you're doing to them in school. It's not fair anymore. I beg you to look into the policies and procedures that are going on in schools and figure out a better way. A better way, please.
Good evening. I did want to start to thank Mr. Markarian and members of this board in making all the efforts to keep school in person as much as we could.
Excuse me, ma'am, could you just state your name and address, please?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Cindy Wong, 22 Carriage Way. I wanted to thank the board for making all efforts to keep school in person this past month. Although it sounded there were grades and classes that were more impacted than the others throughout the district, and we saw many townships in New Jersey go remote, it is appreciated that this district and its administrators made lemon out of lemonade with what you could work with. Congratulations to the appointed members. We hope the appointed members today and the rest of the members will continue to take their position in all seriousness, to take consideration of all matters in their decision-making as a board member. As we can see today that the parents and residents of this community are vested more than ever to be involved in their children's education. To have alluded at some point that parents should not have a say in matters affecting their child's mental, physical health and well-being and education is contrary to the beliefs of the core of being a mother or father. With that said, to echo some of the other parents, I hope this board will strongly consider and prepare for making masks optional when the mandate is no longer in effect and give the decision-making back to the parents. These members of the boards continuously echo the mention of wellness and health of the children, but it is not a one-size-fits-all option and should not be dictated by people and officials who do not care about our own well-being. Please let the parents decide, and please be prepared to respond upon these changes. Thanks.
Is there anyone else for public comment? At this point, I'll close public comment. So most of the comments were about masks, our favorite topic. It's unbelievable that we're still talking about masks almost 2 years later. Obviously, it's very good news that the rates are dropping so fast. It's unbelievable just in the last 2 weeks, how many less cases there are. So we're all very hopeful that things are moving in that direction in a very speedy manner. We really hope that we're going to be in the place we were at the end of last spring where COVID was there but not, controlling our lives anymore. So we don't have any inside information about the mask mandate in the state of New Jersey, aside from what you guys already know about the it being extended for the 30 days. Obviously, we're watching the news and waiting for information just like everyone else. Let's see. In terms of clear masks, there was something in the SOS that Mr. Markarian sent out on Friday about clear masks, that parents have that option for their students. And I think there was a link to where to buy some clear masks that were highly recommended. I do know that there have been different ones tried out. Some of them fog up and some of them have issues, so I don't know, how much success, people will have when they try them in terms of the comfort level and stuff like that, but certainly that's something that is allowed. The process for COVID policies, I was talking to someone the other day, and I'm just going to be speaking off the cuff here, about the way the board, it was probably someone who was coming out for the appointment, the way the board works in normal times when it's not COVID. We have a committee process where things go to committees, and we send things to the policy committee for discussion. I mean, the last 2 years, things have been happening at a weirdly strange pace, and things come from the state, and there's not time to have a policy meeting, to discuss everything that comes, because we don't always know when it's going to come. So, there has been, some, let's just call it chaos, right? Sometimes, because we're trying to react quickly to things. We are listening to the community. I know some people may not get an email back as quickly as they would like. I know we've been trying to communicate when we get a lot of emails on a topic by addressing them all in one message when we're getting inundated with messages about certain topics. Let's see. I don't know. Did I hit on all of them, Mr. Markarian?
Yeah, I think there was a question about where's the recommendation come about from masks. And, we looked at the DOH guidance on both the 12th and the 19th. And on the subject of masks, they link to the CDC page, which talks about recommending that people wear the most protective mask they can that fits well, that they will wear consistently. They go on to say that loosely woven cloth products provide the least protection. Layered, finely woven products offer more protection. Well-fitting disposable surgical masks and KN95s offer even more protection. And well-fitting NIOSH-approved respirators, including N95s, offer the highest level of protection. So they're saying that and simultaneously saying that people should wear the most protective masks they can. So when we're buying masks for our staff, we buy KN95s. And I think that's where the recommendation comes from. Obviously, we understand that there's a lot of opinions about masks and what is the best mask for an individual, which was why we amended the initial document to say, fine, we're not insisting on any particular type of mask. I can only tell you what I see when I read this CDC document, which was from the NJDOH's guidance document. So that's where the rationale comes from.
Okay. At this point, we're up to board forum. Does anyone have anything? Mrs. Gray?
Yes. I have one quick thing, which is just a comment about the question or the point Mrs. Geary made with regard to WIM's lunch, and it was me. It was totally me. I told you that I didn't know that, but it shouldn't surprise people that a board member who doesn't have a student in the middle school doesn't know exactly what's going on at lunch. Well, I did tell you I didn't know, so then there were two of us. So, and that did surprise me, and I can't say that I was excited about that because I think it's kind of sad to have to watch your classmates eat so you can take your turn, but nonetheless, it shouldn't surprise anyone in the community that the board is not involved in the decisions of how lunch works at any of the buildings. There's 4 elementary schools, and they each have different practices. Forget COVID, go back in history when things were normal. All 4 elementary schools run lunch differently. They have different facilities, they have different spaces, they have different enrollment numbers, and we don't know that either, unless we happen to have a child in a grade or a class that is impacted by some type of change. So just for the community at large, it's really not alarming that the board isn't involved in that level of decision, because we're a policymaking body that is not to administer the schools, and that would be administering the schools to be involved on that sort of day-to-day operational level. So I don't want to leave the impression that we should be involved in those decisions. If there are concerns and they come up, obviously people in the community can talk to board members. No issue with that. And that was supposed to be my short item, sorry. So my longer item is something that has come up in just a small handful of emails that the board received over the last week or so regarding the appointment tonight. And I just want to say thank you. I know a lot of people are gone, but what an impressive group of people that we were fortunate to hear speak passionately about their interest in coming out to the Board of Education. That's always really invigorating for people who've been involved like we are, just to know the interest is there. But there were some sentiments shared with the board through email about this idea that if someone ran in the election and did not win the election, that they shouldn't be appointed. And to that I would say there should be some background, first of all, some background knowledge to understand. There are a lot of people sitting on this board right now who were appointed, who weren't even appointed on the first try, myself included. Took me 2 tries to get appointed, and then I had to run for election, and then I got a lot of votes. But it was a process, and just because you didn't get the top 3, if there was a top 3 situation, does not mean you still weren't supported by the community to the tune of 2,900 votes. That's a lot of votes if you look at the historical tallies for votes in this community. Mr. Salmon, myself, Ms. Hira, Ms. Schaefer, Mrs. Korn, who recently left the board, and Ms. Richmond, who left last May, were all appointees who subsequently ran and were elected. So I just want to be clear that there shouldn't be any sort of assumption or foregone conclusion just based on that fact. And that's all I want to say.
Does anybody else have anything for board forum? I would just like to say welcome and welcome back. We will definitely be speaking about logistics and training and all the stuff that has to happen. We look forward to working together. And I don't have anything else for board forum. So we're up to adjournment. Would someone like to make a motion for adjournment? Ms. Hira and Mrs. Gray. All in favor?